In this presentation, we will take a look at multiple choice questions related to CVP analysis, cost volume profit analysis, going through the questions and then using test taking skills, practicing test taking skills with them. First question, which of the following costs is fixed? A. Utilities. B. Sales commission. C. Direct labor. D. Direct materials. And E. Rent. Let's go through this again. Use the process of elimination. Which of the following costs is fixed? A. Utilities. Now, utilities, we might think maybe the utilities bill is kind of standard, or maybe it's variable. It's kind of hard to know. Maybe we'll keep that one for now. The second one says sales commissions. Typically, when we consider commissions, we think that they're going to increase or decrease with the sales volume. So we would think that that wouldn't be fixed. It would be relevant. Now, if it was some other salary, if it was salary, some other type of wages such as salary, then that we would think would be more fixed. But commissions typically variable. C, we have direct labor. Now, direct labor is something that we would consider to be variable. We usually consider that to be an hourly type rate or something that we're going to say is changing with the level of production. And then we have the direct materials. Again, something that we would typically consider, that would be the most kind of variable thing that we would typically think would be variable. The materials that are going to go into the production. So we're going to say that that's going to be variable. And E says the rent. And that's probably one of the most type of fixed type things that we can think of, because the rent is usually pretty standard, pretty stable, pretty solid no matter what the production level is. So E looking pretty solid for the fixed costs. Let's go through it again. Which of the following costs is fixed? Either A, utilities, E, the rent. Normally I would say rent would be the most common one there. Utilities may have a fixed component, but typically it might be mixed. It might have a fixed component and a variable component to it. In other words, it might have a baseline kind of that it would be fixed and then possibly vary from production level from there. So we're going to go with E. Final answer. Which of the following costs is fixed? We're going with E, the rent. Next question. A company's normal operating range, A, normal range, B, optimal range, C, break-even point, D, relevant range, or E, high-low point range. Let's go through this again using the process of elimination. A company's normal operating range. Is that the normal range? That would seem reasonable, so I'll keep that one for now. The second one would be the optimal range. The normal range doesn't seem possibly optimal. It might be, there might be another range that's not normal that's optimal. So C, the break-even point. Break-even point doesn't seem like it's going to be the normal range. That's going to be where we break even, and hopefully that's not the norm because we want to be making profit here. And D says the relevant range. So that seems like a term that is reasonable, something that sounds familiar. And E says the high-low point range. Now the high-low point range seems kind of unusual. The high-low point is an estimate we typically use, an average type of estimate. So it can kind of sound reasonable, but it's not applied here usually to this type of question. So I'm going to cross that out for now. We're going to say a company's normal operating range is either the normal range or the relevant range. Now, normal range sounds most familiar or common because it says normal operating range. So you think that would be a good answer. But that's not usually a term we hear a lot in this section. What we hear a lot is the relevant range a lot. So this would be the term that would typically be used, although this term seems like it would work. If we use that term, people would probably know what we were saying. But this is going to be the book term, the definition term. Let's go through it again. Final answer. A company's normal operating range, D, relevant range. Next question. Which of the following is not a necessary assumption of CVP analysis? A, costs can be separated into variable or fixed. B, relevant range includes all possible levels of activity that a company might experience. C, sales price and variable costs per unit of output stay constant as volume changes. D, a constant sales mix is a multi-product company in a multi-product company. Or E, total fixed costs are always constant. Okay, let's go through this again. We got some fairly long answers. We're going to use the process of elimination. Which of the following is not a necessary assumption for CVP analysis? A, costs can be separated into variable and fixed. That's going to be our primary kind of assumption. We're going to have that. So that's going to be one of the assumptions. We need to be able to break out all costs into either variable or fixed in one shape or form. Somehow we'll do that. B, relevant range includes all possible levels of activity that a company might experience. I don't know. That sounds kind of a little strange. Let's go back to that. We'll keep that one for now. C says sales price and variable cost per unit of output stay constant as volume changes. That sounds pretty reasonable. I'll keep that for now. D says constant sales mix in multi-product company. So let's say we're not sure about that for now. And E says total fixed costs are always constant. And that's going to be one of the assumptions we make, because we're going to break things out into variable and fixed. And one of the assumptions we have to make then is the fixed costs act like fixed costs. So they're going to always be basically constant. So let's keep that, and we'll go with B, C, or D. Let's go through it again. Which of the following is not a necessary assumption for CVP analysis? Not a necessary assumption. B, relevant range includes all possible levels of activity that a company might experience. Or C, sales mix and variable cost per unit of output stay constant as volume changes, or sales price and variable cost. Now, similar to F, that's kind of the definition of a variable cost, or sales are acting in a constant rate. They go up at a constant rate, and variable cost per unit of output should go up at a constant rate. That's kind of what variable costs are. So I would think that A, C, and E are all kind of the same type of assumption, breaking things out into variable and fixed. And then D says a constant sales mix in multi-product company. We might not totally understand what that means. If we go to A, B, and D, B says relevant range includes all possible levels of activity that a company might experience. That seems kind of outside the norm. Relevant range, it seems like it's got to be in some area that the company might do something outside that relevant range. And D says, so I would think that B isn't a reasonable assumption for that reason. D says a constant sales mix in multi-product company. That means we make multiple products, and if we make multiple products, we're going to have to use this constant sales mix in order to apply our tools of the CVP analysis. So based on that, we'll go with B as the final answer. Which of the following is not a necessary assumption of CVP analysis? B, relevant range includes all possible levels of activity that a company might experience.